So if you have two offenses in a 1 to 5 year period, or basically two offenses within the same 5 year period, you're looking at a scenario where you're going to have a deep lung device, the breathalyzer that you're going to have to blow into while the car is operating. You're going to have that installed on your vehicle, and you're looking at a longer suspension period of 1 to 2 years, and that's not a lot of fun. Those conditions can also be placed on first-time offenders who have a legal limit, a breath test or a blood test that's more than double the legal limit. So these are things to keep in mind. You know, these are big risks when you're getting behind the wheel about an impediment to your ability to go to work, buy basic necessities for your family. It's a significant penalty. It's a risk you shouldn't take. So you can get suspended for refusing to take a breath or a blood test at the roadside to get pulled over for suspicion of driving while intoxicated. That is a suspendable scenario. In other words, if your refusal to cooperate with law enforcement at the roadside results in a finding that you were over the legal limit, if it's taken by warrant, in other words. So if you refuse a roadside request or a investigating officer's request for a breath or blood sample upon being pulled over for a DWI investigation, that's going to result in a suspension, usually of 90 days to 1 year for the refusal. And I'm not commenting on anybody's invoking their right not to incriminate themselves. I'm just letting you know these are going to be the consequences that the state of Texas is going to want to impose on you for acting on that right. DWI. So if you refuse to give a sample for being pulled over for suspicion of DWI, that refusal carries a consequence of a license suspension of about 180 days. If you fail a roadside test, then that will result in a license suspension of at least 90 days for a first offense, and longer if there's been multiple offenses in the past, or dependent on. Also, asking for an occupational driver's license carries with it basically two tiers of penalty. There's the occupational suspension, which means you're eligible on a first offense. You'd be eligible for an occupational license, so you could go back and forth to work. But if there's been prior DWIs, the state of Texas is going to have both a hard suspension period and then a suspension period where you will be eligible for an occupational driver's license, and those can last for 90 or more days, and it just depends on how many driving while intoxicated offenses there have been in that person's past.